And hello, Astro friends. It's Melanie on the 21st of May 2024. It's the second day, or the first full day, I should say, of Gemini 2024 since Gemini season started yesterday morning. And we are having the Cuspy Sagittarius, early Gemini full moon coming up on the 23rd of May, followed by Jupiter entering Gemini on the 25th of May, and in between, Venus will also enter Gemini on the full moon day on the 23rd of May. So a big shift from very Taurian energy in April into May, and now lots of Gemini energies coming in, the first air sign of the zodiac. So things, and it's mutable, the first mutable sign as well. So things come into motion, and there is much more exchange going on, not only in nature via pollination, but also via pollination of ideas, via information, new discussions, new thoughts, bigger, better ideas, hopefully, with Jupiter in Gemini. And also the whole question, Gemini spark questions about debates. Just heard about the US presidential debates coming up, and RFK Jr. not being allowed at this point to debate. So we'll see where this goes. And that can be also interesting to see what's behind that. Is it just a formality, or is it really concern? Anyway, the full moon is coming up in less than 2 days on the 23rd of May at just a second, 6:53 a.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time. The full moon is a big news of this week, and then Venus following suit into Gemini right after the full moon in the evening, and sorry, in the afternoon, and then Jupiter going into Gemini for more than a year until early June 2025. So, big shift, as I said, from more steady, solid, maybe also stagnant and stuck energy in Taurus, where you could have felt like, things are not moving, so much patience needed, what's going on? And with Gemini, there's a breath of fresh air, and it's really a shift, because the air element again has to do with the mind, right? And has to do with social interaction, which is now more highlighted again. And Gemini is ever so curious, interested in diversity, in a variety of expressions of life, right? That's the key of learning, the key of language also, right? So languages play an important role for Gemini, messages, even names. I have come across lots of clients in my 24 almost years of astrology practice who have strong Gemini emphasis, often actually the ascendant, and for them, their name and their changes of their names have occurred, and their whole theme around how do I identify with my name? Do I need to do something about that? Names are important. They convey language, conveys energy, says Gemini. And so whom do we resonate with, go into interaction with? Where do we feel heard? Whom do we listen to? And all these things, right? And what can we learn from human mental and communicative expression, and which can be also via books, of course, and via reading. And yeah, so much interest. And Gemini is in a way the core, or the basic motif for science also, because it's this curiosity around learning to understand the world better. Taurus is the natural world. Gemini gives it names and forms, and also looks at the behavior basically of the natural world. And I'm emphasizing that a bit because there's so much cuspy energy going on right now, especially this week, from Taurus to Gemini. And I call this cusp the voice point because Taurus is more the body itself, and it can be also the function of the voice, right? So also the sound of our voice. And Gemini, there is words, there is a message that is being conveyed through our voice. That can be also through song, through music, and yeah. So voice, what's important for you, can be quite a theme this week, and with a full moon. So I'm just showing you with a full moon chart here what's going on with all these cusps. Now, the one I just talked about, the cusp from Taurus to Gemini. Look how much is happening here. Uranus, towards the end already of Taurus, will be in Taurus till 2026 still, and followed by Jupiter just barely hanging on to Taurus and entering Gemini 2 days after the full moon on the 25th. Then Venus also just about to enter Gemini right on the day of the full moon. Then the Sun over in Gemini. That's that voice point cusp. And here it's also about listening to the voice of the body, right? So what is the body and what is nature telling us, and how can we be a voice for nature, for biology, for anything that is organic and natural? Then Sagittarius is where the moon will be, still in Scorpio now. I'm going to talk about that a bit later, but here is the key highlight of the week. The moon in very early Sagittarius, contrasting and reflecting the light of the sun in very early Gemini. So here it's the Phoenix point. I call the Scorpio Sagittarius cusp the Phoenix point. This is where the Phoenix arises from the ashes, where having gone through deep processes, which can easily happen these days, especially now with the moon in Scorpio. And having come through that, having processed through stuff, we have a sense of freedom. You have a sense of being reborn, and yeah, we also have new understanding. It's also kind of an adventurous energy there, right? Having gone through sort of thrilling situations, we have a story to tell. That's also Scorpio Sagittarius. So quickly back on that note, because the moon is now in Scorpio, which started yesterday, Monday afternoon, and has been going on all day today, Tuesday the 21st, and still tomorrow, Wednesday the 22nd. The moon will eventually cross over the Phoenix point technically on the 23rd at 1:24 a.m. Just a few hours, just 5.5 hours before the full moon. And so, yeah, so tomorrow is still full on Scorpio moon day, and Scorpio moon is typically feared or kind of has a bad rap because it can take us into emotional depths, if not abysses, right? So into the dark, into the shadow. We are more susceptible to the shadow. We can also be sort of an detective, an investigator, where we look behind surface appearances, especially combination of Gemini and Scorpio, right? Gemini is quite happy to fly just really really low, but not even being fully grounded, let alone being deep, right? So Gemini is a light energy, and Scorpio is deep and cannot be superficial from a Scorpio perspective, right? So we can, so information and even discussions, debates, all of that, that's very Gemini, right? They can reveal so much on the psychological level. that's what I just came across today. Also came across a really interesting interview and saw, oh wow, there's a lot of psychology in all of this, right? That is interesting. And the combination of both Gemini and Scorpio, maybe you have that in your chart. That would be also really good equipment for any scientist, really, for any psychologist, right? Because you're interested in people and you're interested in information, and you also go deeper than what the words convey. So, and then the moon will be in Sagittarius as a full moon, and Sagittarius is so much about truth, right? Gemini is about information, is about so the combination of them would be like, hey, yeah, we have information, but is this the truth, right? Or we can also say, can I trust this information? What is common sense? What does my heart say also? That's also Sagittarius versus what are the letters here, right? And yeah, so Sagittarius needs to go from the head. Gemini to Sagittarius needs to go from the head to the heart. So we have to find this journey in a very cerebral, brainy, intellectual information society, when artificial learning and artificial intelligence, so-called intelligence, is also being added to the picture, right? And it all compounds, right? So nothing in Sagittarius these days and months, except when we get into Sag season. So this is a good counterbalance, right? To also find our truth, our heart, and yeah, and speak our truth. Super important, speaking our truth. The moon in Sag is in a white fire trine with the Aries energy. It's even in a wide, it's actually in a very exact trine with Neptune back in Pisces, and Neptune is also on a cusp from Pisces to Aries. So let's go to that because it's also sequential. So this is another cusp that is being activated now. I call it the emergence point. So this is where life emerges from out of the sea of the of all that is, of all potentiality. A seed emerges from the ground, a life form comes into being, right? Out of the potentiality, out of the interconnectedness of it all, but the pure beingness, right? That is also Pisces, the energy that connects us all and connects everything, whether alive or not, right? Whether animate or non-animate. So Pisces is the unified field of it all. And out of that, something new, life emerges on the Aries point, on the spring equinox point. Why is that so important? Because Neptune and Saturn will actually cross over the emergence point next for the first time next summer 2025, and then fully, so it goes back, both go back into Pisces, and then they come out fully in Aries in February 2026. So this is another theme that says something completely new is emerging out of, if you will, the Piscean soup, the Piscean age even, right? Pisces age being characterized of the last 2,100 or so years being characterized by collectivism, by a strong, yeah, like collective experiences and so much suffering in all of this, right? So, and we've seen another big crescendo wave of that lately with all the wars going on, right? And likely so much unnecessary suffering, right? So why is this energy happening? Why do we need to keep doing this at the expense of people who are just basically yeah, expandable part of the masses. I'm saying that cynically, right? That's totally not my belief. And this is what needs to end. And we need to be more acknowledge more the individual. That is also Aries, right? And that also comes with the Pluto shift into Aquarius. Has to, if possible. Why am I saying that? Because Pluto Aquarius is being celebrated as, yes, the Aquarius age is starting, everything is good, community and so on. No, that's just one part of the equation, right? Gemini would also look at these two facets. So we have the, in this Aquarian world, we have the utopia, which is more like, yes, in a better world, in the ideal world, things would look like this. And then we have the dystopia. We have the shadow where things could go. And Pluto, in a way, warns us, or yeah, Pluto doesn't warn us, but Pluto is a transpersonal energy, an archetype that shows us the extremes, that shows us the shadow where things could go. So on this point, on the community building point, from Capricorn to Aquarius, where Pluto is dancing around, and Pluto will go back one more time briefly into Capricorn September 1st to November 19th. And then on November 19th, will fully enter Aquarius until 2043, 44. So for almost 20 years. So Pluto this year on the cusp, community building point. What's with that? Yes, we need to build community. And then otherwise, what is being built, right? So based on the Capricorn world, Capricorn can be very traditional, can be working with the land, and can be very respectful, and yeah, being basically standing in the legacy of the ancestors. But it can be also an energy of hierarchies, and that is also what our ancestors experienced. And nowadays we have lots of shadow where basically hierarchies are revealing themselves with their power trips, right? And so if that continues, and if we have an extension, a continuity from that place, then the systems on the Aquarius side that are being built are not really humane and are not really in support of people being in community, because everybody is apparently self-sufficient with their technology, but at the same time we are not only learning helplessness and we are also losing lots of skills and capacities that now their so-called smart devices are taking over, but we're also isolating ourselves from others, and it's all a virtual place where we meet and not in reality. So we need to really come together with people and strengthen friendships and go to the essence. That's Pluto again, right? The essence, the core of our humanity, and also check where compatibility is in that regard. Early Aquarius has a Libra undertone, so it's also about who in the social realm and in our friendship realm is really compatible with me at this point of the evolution. Maybe things have changed over the last years, likely. And so compatibility and finding good matches in your friends is really critical, and that sustains you for the time to come. And so because you have shared values, that could have been also evoked a lot, brought out through Uranus in Taurus. Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius, in Taurus since 2019. So we have seen where our values are in congruence with people, or where we feel actually with Aquarius we feel more alienated also through our values, right? Values have been very diverging values have been very disruptive and very divisive, right? So checking in compatibility, values, and all this. Then yes, talked about the emergence point, the voice point, the phoenix point, the community building point. All these cusps are activated with the Sagittarius Gemini full moon. So Sagittarius, speaking of US and debates, Sagittarius is the rising sign of the United States. So this is also really important full moon for the US, right? And for the upcoming elections, clearly, right? Then also this full moon is the last full moon in spring. Yes, it is already, because the next full moon will be on the first day of summer solstice, June 21st, June 21st, 2024. In the evening, we will have the first full moon in summer on the first day of summer. So this is the last spring full moon, and the sequence of spring full moons have some spiritual esoteric connotation as well. I just briefly mentioned those. The first full moon in spring is typically the one before Easter, the pre-Easter full moon, which we had this year on March 25th. It was. Let me just verify. March 25th. That's right. And it was a lunar eclipse, that one, right? Because Libra Aries, that's where the full moon was, is also where the eclipse axis or the nodal axis is at this point. And it was about making authentic choices, right? That then led us into the new moon that came after that, which was the total solar eclipse on April 8th. And that came with Chiron. So it was a lot about medicine of authenticity, medicine of new beginnings, medicine of being truly you, right? And even of an adventure, of being alive, all of that, right? And so a big important seed was planted with that eclipse that is still continues to unfold over the year or even longer. Then we had the next full moon again on April 23rd, and that was, for me, in my system, it was the astrological Wesak moon of the Buddha, even though the Buddhists celebrate the Wesak moon as the full moon in May, which is the one coming up. But since it was the full moon in early Scorpio and Taurus, it reflects the themes of Buddhism very well, and so it brings out these themes also very much emotionally and brings them to our consciousness. What am I talking about? It's about attachment. It's about being either attached, so attachment as the source, as the main point, the main source of suffering in the Buddhist philosophy. So why do we get attached? What do we get attached to? Either our desires, right? What we want to assimilate, what we don't have, and what you want to buy, what you want to take in, right? So that is all Taurus. Or we get attached to getting rid of what we don't want, what is painful, what is what we want to avoid, what we also don't want to look at, right? So all of that is Scorpio. And so it's also the pleasure-pain axis with Taurus Scorpio. And it was important to process things with that full moon. And here's still an outrolling wave from that full moon at this point, because today and tomorrow we have again the moon for the first time since that last full moon. We have the moon again in Scorpio. And so we might also have some reverberations of that phase emotionally. And desires versus avoidance, or even or being pulled down rabbit holes, right? That can be also an attachment in a bit of a thrilling or masochistic way, right? And there's always psychology involved with Scorpio. Why do good people do bad things? That is also a Scorpio Taurus dynamic, right? And what comes from it, right? Then we had, so this Buddha full moon. Then the last new moon was on May the 7th with lots of Taurus energy, and now the full moon follows that. So since this, since there, how am I saying that? So since this first full moon, while we are in Gemini, is the full moon comes first before the new moon. Let's put it that way, in the Gemini season. So we had, and the full moon is typically a fulfillment, right? It brings things to fullness. Even like the model of harvest moon comes in there, right? So this full moon goes also back to the new moon, to the recent new moon, which was in Taurus, right, on May 7th. So there's also this whole bridge over from Taurus to Gemini. And the other reflection of that is, of course, Jupiter in Taurus has been the big theme this year. And now, just after this full moon, Jupiter enters Gemini. So this is also a fulfillment and a integration of the Jupiter in Taurus year. It would be a wonderful time to reflect on that. It was going on since last mid-May 2023. And so with that, how have you really been true to your values, which is very Taurus? What's going on with your senses? What's going on with nature, with your body, with anything that you enjoy and value, right? And how has that been grown, or can you understand more about it, right? What is really truly important for you? What is your truth in that regard? What guides you? What is your inner mentor? Where can you tap into abundance in that regard? As we're shifting over to Jupiter in Gemini. And that will be a lot about the mind again, right? And information, knowledge, and understanding in that regard. Better communication. Yes, of course, also AI learning, but also understanding all sorts of intelligence and the mind really better. Then I will write an article for Jupiter and Gemini. I haven't done that yet, so please be a little patient still. And the actual Astro News email newsletter for the full moon will be coming out, tomorrow, I hope. There's been lots going on, and I am about to publish the full moon blog post. But the video comes first in this regard. So, full moon. And now let's go back to the moon. Where else will the moon, where will the moon be over the course of this week? I already said in Scorpio today and tomorrow, and then in Sagittarius with and after the full moon. And how long will the moon be in Sagittarius? Until Saturday the 25th at 8:36 a.m. So pretty much all day Thursday, definitely all day Friday. So this is also about distribution. It's about having inspired and enthusiastic message to share, and truth wants to be coming out, discussions want to be had, and understanding, right? And so the moon will then be in Capricorn from Saturday morning on, all day Sunday, and until Monday, the 27th. We are now at 1:45 p.m. So with the Capricorn moon, that in combination with Gemini Sun, and after full moon, that is very grounding energy. That is really also making sure that all our ideals and visions and plans, if you will, they are realistic and feasible, and also that we are in integrity, walk our talk, do something about them. Or is maybe it's just a high-flying thing, which can easily happen with Sagittarius Gemini. and empty promise, right? That would be also a shadow of all of that. Then the moon goes into Aquarius, to more air energy then, right? From Monday afternoon on. And moon in Aquarius will immediately contact Pluto, which is also very early first degrees of Aquarius, 0 degrees of Aquarius, and going retro. What did it say? 0? No, 200. Looked it up in the chart. 2 degrees. Then, so the moon will come into contact with Pluto on the 27th, which will be the U.S. Memorial Day. And yeah, Moon Pluto is very much interested in um, going to the core of things and going into the background of things as well, right? Again, digging deep, and in this case, it could be the core of your friendship, right? So, what in essence connects you with the people and with your community, and what doesn't, and what is it that is coming up now that shows you maybe in a nutshell, maybe in just a um, essential piece that shows you uh, how you are compatible with people, where there's balance and justice and all these things, or not, right? And so, and that needs to be processed. So, Moon Pluto is a deep processing, actually, deep emotional processing, in this case, also of the whole zeitgeist we're in currently, also the trajectory into the future. So, moon wise, that's it for this week. And then, solar wise, we have the sun, of course, in early Gemini, which, just like Pluto in early Aquarius, has also a Libra undertone. So Libra brings in the dimension of relationships, the dimension even of giving and receiving, of balance, of harmony, of peace, right? So this could also bring out new discussions and debates around what's going on around peace in the world, or the lack thereof. And what does it have to do with power and systemic power with Pluto in Aquarius that is killing people? Let's name it, right? So, yeah, what's going on here? And more aspects, more ideas coming to the forefront. Then we have Venus entering Gemini. All this air energy right now, right? Coming in. Venus enters Gemini, as I said at the beginning, on the day of the full moon, on the 23rd. Venus enters Gemini and will be there until June 16th. So that brings an element of lightness. It's like an element of butterflies, of hummingbirds, of sweetness also, right? The sweetness and lightness of being. And also the energy of alchemy, of polarities. Venus likes harmony, right? So, and in Gemini, Venus likes to harmonize the diverging elements. That can be also your inner masculine, feminine, this or that, different sides that you thought are not so, are diverging in a way, right? Gemini is about divergence and diversity. And so Venus wants to actually attract them back together, right? So that there is an alchemy and something more bigger, something more beautiful is being created through the alchemy. So, and yeah, that's it for this week. I've been talking a lot already, and I'm signing off here to do more writing work for the full moon. And hope you're having a beautiful week, and you might be interested in joining us at one of our groups. The upcoming one that's most on the radar, my radar here, is Jupiter Journaling Journey, starting on June the 3rd. oh, I'm saying second again. 2 is Gemini, but on the third is the start of the Jupiter journaling journey, and that is every Monday evening for 4 weeks. We're going into your own Jupiter cycles, and especially into Jupiter in Gemini cycles. And if you have anything in Gemini or even Jupiter in Gemini, this is your thing, right? And it's also about understanding things better, learning also how to track these cycles with astrology. And we're focusing simply just on Jupiter to keep it more contained in that regard. So you can find more out about that on my Astro page, astrology, a Facebook page. I have an event created for that, and of course also in the email Astro News. And again, I wish you a beautiful Sagittarius, Gemini, full moon, and more airy energy, more Gemini energy coming into the picture. Grow wings, take off, put your put your light out, and grow wings and fly freely. Wish you a beautiful springtime. Until next Monday. Bye.